Hello and welcome to Breakfast All Day. I'm Matt. That is Christy.
I sure am.
Alonzo is off doing cool stuff. So we're going to talk about Luce, which is an indie movie from Neon. It's kind of a thriller. Will you discuss it for us?
It's confusing because there's also a movie called Luce, spelled L-U-Z, like light in Spanish. This is Luce, L-U-C-E.
Which is also like light, but in a different language.
Anyway, it's very confusing. So we're talking about Luce, L-U-C-E. Kelvin Harrison stars as a young man who's a senior in high school, a very wealthy suburb of Arlington, Virginia. And his parents, played by Naomi Watts and Tim Roth, have adopted him from Eritrea. When he was like 10 years old, they brought him over here from this war-torn section of Africa. And he's seemingly perfect. He's handsome and charismatic, and he is the captain of the track team, and he's going to be valedictorian.
He's on the debate team.
He's in the debate. He's charming. He's got this tremendous smile. Like, he's perfect. And there's so much pressure on him to be perfect. And there's so much expectation about what it means that he's a young black man in this really white suburb and the hopes that are pinned on him. And seemingly everything is going great at the beginning of the film. But then his history teacher, played by Octavia Spencer, is alarmed by a couple of things. A paper he has written for class. He's done the assignment as he's been asked to, but what he has written has set up some alarm bells. And then an item that she then subsequently finds in his locker when she goes and does a search of his locker. In these scary times, you know, school officials and teachers are more on guard and more on edge than ever. And I guess she figured, we just can't take any chances. Like, here's enough of an alarm here that I'm going to just make sure that there's nothing else going on that we need to worry about.
Right. And one of the things about her character, before we even really, like, when we first meet her, there's a little bit of tension on screen, and then we get a little bit of backstory from Luce about how she's really tough. And she, you know, he talks about how he's tougher, how she's tougher on him and some of the other students of color than some of the white students. And that plays into what goes on with the rest of the story. So it's not just that it's that
she has her own expectations based on experience.
Yeah.
So from here, I don't really want to say much more, but from here it becomes this question, which you're going to be pondering and you're going to be wondering what the truth is all throughout the film. And it's all about how everybody handles this situation and how it escalates based on the state in which we live, based on the expectations from the past, based on trying to make things right, based on white liberal guilt and intentions.
But also intentions to try and move forward and try and, you know, everybody's got their hopes, right? Like there's very few characters in this that I think are coming from a place of being malicious.
Right. People think they're all doing the right thing.
Right.
But increasingly, we begin to question Luce. And that's what's so fascinating here is that I don't know whether it's what has been put in our head by what Octavia Spencer's character found or we're reading something into it. But increasingly, I found there's almost this like sinister kind of passive-aggressive tone to his delivery as the film goes on. And it makes you question, like, is she just being gaslit? Is she going crazy? Is she onto something? And then the parents also begin to question Naomi Watts in particular as his mom. And everyone is excellent in this, by the way. But Naomi Watts as his mom is like, I'm never going to invade his privacy. And then increasingly begins to question whether that's the right parenting move here. And
as the parent of a teenager, invade their privacy.
Yeah?
Oh.
You think so?
Yes.
Yikes. I'm not even.
Teenagers are not to be trusted.
I'm on the edge of tweendom here, and I'm a little nervous about what you're telling me.
You should be. You should be. I mean, I love Gabe, but yeah.
Okay.
I mean, yeah.
Good to know. Anyway, so it's this is based on a play. It's directed by Julius Onah. It's based on a play by J.C. Lee, and the two of them co-wrote this together. And you can sort of feel the rhythms of a play here in terms of the dialogue is really smart and really sharp, and it all takes place in just a few locations, but it will really make you question intentions and like what is the motivation behind certain actions. And like, you know, we all think we are liberal, we're doing the right thing, but like, what is the right thing?
And the writing in this, the dialogue in this is so sharp in that it, without really being ham-fisted about it, you really do see the second and third layer of what's going on and what's happening. Brian Tellerico on RogerEbert.com
My editor, yes.
mentioned early Mammoth in his review of this, and I think he's right. It made me think of Pinter in some places, not so much for the pauses, but just kind of the way things are spoken about. I was really, really riveted by this movie and kind of went in expecting something that was more dramatic than the thriller that it turns out to be. At no point did I have any idea where it was going, and then certain things were happening that I just was definitely saying, "Oh no, oh my!" Just real shockers. One of the moments that it's a Naomi Watts moment that she has where she says something that tells you what her agenda is, and it totally caught me by surprise. She's great in this. Tim Roth is really good in this. I can't remember the actor's name, but the
Kelvin Harrison. Who's Luce?
No, the director. I mean, sorry, the principal. And I can't remember his name.
Of course, now that you've asked me to look it up.
He played Patty Chayefsky.
Oh, he is Norbert Leo Butz, Broadway veteran Norbert Leo Butz.
Yes, I thought he was good. He's not in it a ton, but he was good.
You can see what his agenda is too, because he wants this shining star to be an example of like what can happen at this kind of school, to this kind of kid.
And one of the things this captures too is the way in high school, like, kids will kind of manipulate situations and talk to each other and try and get things to happen. And when that gets used in an adult world, this movie's fascinating.
Yeah.
I think it's terrific. I think it's absolutely worth seeking out. I again, like, it's tough to talk about without giving a lot away. The acting is terrific. The direction, there is attention. It's a really, like, it takes its time, but boy, you're really just on the edge of your seat the whole time. Yeah. And it's not noisy. It's not violent. It's just...
It's provocative,
It's provocative and terrifying.
Yeah.
Right? And, and it makes... Especially because it makes use of what we know about the news and the way we hear about, kids in schools and zero tolerance and that kind of stuff. And on both sides of it, like, oh, what might a kid be capable of doing? And then what might happen to them because of assumptions that may or may not be true. This was riveting, and it's absolutely worth seeing.
Yeah, this might be on my top 10 list at the end of the year. But Kelvin Harrison's amazing in this. He's he keeps you guessing the whole time, and he's got such charisma and such a magnetic presence to him that when some like subtext emerges and some possible other motivations, and you begin to question, like, it's beguiling. Like, it's totally, it's frightening and fascinating all at once. And I realize we're both like stammering through this, like trying to tell you how to go see it. Just trust us. Luce, Luce. I think it is out in New York and LA this weekend, and it will be out eventually elsewhere. But I'm saying 9. You said 9.5.
Yeah, 9.5.
Okay, we're 9.3. It's at 94% on the tomato meter.
Yeah. So thank you for watching. If you enjoy this, please tell your friends. Tell your friends that may know about What the Flick and don't know where we are, that this is where we are.
We're here.
Follow us on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. And if you haven't joined our Patreon, check that out. You can get our TV recaps. And this week we're doing a bunch of trailer reactions to some pretty interesting trailers, including The Lighthouse, 1917.
Good stuff.
But not Tenet, because that's not online yet.
We are at Be Fast All Day and all the places where you look for people.
Yes. All right. Thank you very much.
Bye.